In this review we will look at a model of a classic crane. It gets delivered in an outer shipping carton, and as we can see it's made by IMC Models. It is the Sarens Demag AC650.
Let's weigh it up.
Straight onto the weighbridge, and it weighs in at £12 6 ounces, and that's around 5.6 kilograms. Opening up the outer shipping carton, we can see a Sarens branded box inside. And if we turn it around and look at the bottom, it's also marked as a Sarens shop product. Let's open up the box and see what's inside. And out comes the usual expanded polystyrene trays. In the top there's a removable section, and that lets us get to the assembly manual, and we'll look at that again in a moment. And the packaging design is nice because there are clips and no tape to cut. Inside, all the parts are protected by soft paper. The manual is standard for the Demag AC650 model, and there's a photo of the box contents, which is helpful if you need to repack it, and then all of the parts are also listed. And also good is the fact that you get many tools to assist in the assembly. After that, there are many pages of detailed instructions. To start with, we'll put the model in a low-weight road configuration. And there's a little bit to be added to the rear outriggers, and that is to attach the pads, which have their own holders. And then the outriggers can be retracted. Next, we need to dismantle part of the superlift assembly, and this is where the tools come in handy to undo the small nuts and bolts. In transport mode, the two pendant bars can be attached, one on either side of the boom. And once they're located, you can use a pin to secure them. And as you can see, bags are numbered to make it easy to find the right pins. Next, we add on the connections to the boom head, and they just hook over and then get secured by tiny L-shaped pins. Next, there's a bit of detail to add, which the manual describes as a wind gauge. And in this configuration, we will attach a hook block. So we'll take some rope off of the winch drum, and then reeve it up and attach it at the front, using the attached chain.
Let's weigh it up again.
In road-going configuration, the model comes in at £4 15 ounces, what is over 2.2 kilograms. If you have a suitable ballast carrier, then you can display it next to the crane carrying various loads, and in this case it's simple ballast blocks. But later on in this review you might see that parts are actually carried using various frames, and these are a separate part. It is reviewed separately, and it's part number 33-0196. As usual, we start underneath, and the chassis is very detailed. It's made up of many different components, and the tyres have a decent tread pattern. Moving on to the carrier cab, and there's a license plate at the front. There's some nice chevron decoration and also a fleet number. The Sarens logo is printed on the door, and up on top there's a good looking beacon light. A highlight of the detailing is all of the indicated rivet heads, and the graphics are very sharp. There's a good looking exhaust on top, and the wheels are detailed with the tyres being unbranded. Whilst we're here, we take a look at the boom, and the quality of the painting is very high. There's a textured platform above a couple of spooling drums. There are some very nice wheel arches with highlighting, and various access ladders are modelled. The big boom rams are metal parts, and the Sarens name is very sharp, as are all of the graphics on the model. And there are smaller ones which add detail. The outrigger beam has got non-functional lifting points, and the crane cab bears the Sarens logo. There's a nice platform outside, and the detail inside is great. Looking at the rear end, there's a license plate and good looking lights, although the rear outrigger pistons can't be fully retracted. There are textured surfaces on top of the crane and some hydraulic hoses. The hoist rope is high quality, And there's some nice detail within the casting. The exhaust pipe has a proper hole. The high level of detail continues behind the carrier cab. There are more textured walkway surfaces, and the big tank has highlighted filler caps. The outriggers have got proper smooth-faced pistons, and the metal spreader plates also have usable lifting points. Included with the model is a large hook block, and it's a high-quality metal piece with multiple sheaves. The counterweight blocks all have chevron markings and usable lifting points, and the tray has the luffing gear already reeved. The boom sections are top quality with Sarens marked on every one, and the wall thickness is realistically thin. Also included is a metal Sarens load plate. In terms of functionality, all of the axles have independent steering except axle 6. And that's because axle 6 is a fixed axle which can be raised up out of service. All of the axles also have sprung suspension. Out on the road the model rolls well enough, and that's helped by its heavy weight. You could also put this crane through a decent turning circle. As mentioned before, axle 6 can be clipped up out of service, and you just tighten a screw with a screwdriver, and the range of lift is very good. We are travelling light, but we've arrived on site, so the first thing we'll do is open up the rear outriggers, and we'll put those down temporarily. To lower them, you unscrew the pistons in the usual way. Next, we'll rotate out the cab from its travelling position, and to do that you raise it slightly to get over the outrigger beam. There's an included ladder if you need it. Raising the boom is silky smooth, and you lock it at the angle you want using an Allen key in the small grub screws. A great feature on the model is the removable side panel, which is held in place by magnets, and that gives you access to work the winch drum using an included key. So you can play crane driver if you want to. The outrigger beams have locking struts which you can move into position. You can then lock them with pins, although the fit is tight. So here we have the crane posed, unloading its spreader plates. And here's another pose with it attaching the front outriggers. And these get fixed using long pins. With the outrigger set, the model can be posed wheels free. And the included chains also allow you to pose self-ballasting, and here the counterweight tray is being lowered. And you can then use the chains to set each counterweight block. To mount the counterweight tray on the crane, you hook it up on the underside. And once it clips in, you can secure it at the top with a long steel pin. It takes a little bit of jiggling to line up the holes and get it in place. But once it's all set, you can then load up the counterweight blocks. And these stack neatly and are fairly secure in position. To extend the boom, you just pull out the sections, and this works nice and smoothly. There are locking clips on each section, so you can lock the extension at 100%, 90% or 45%. To give the operator a better view, you can tilt the cab, and after some initial stickiness, the crane rotates very smoothly. If you want a heavier lift capacity, you can attach the super lift, and it's pretty much an all-metal part with metal pulleys. The pendant bars connecting the super lift to the boom are also metal parts. The superlift has fold-down legs, so you can position it on a trailer for transport. And you can tension up the system by using a key on the winch. So here you see it with the tension being released first, and then you can wind it back in to tension up. The friction brake on the model wasn't very strong, but it was good enough to get a decent pose. This is another very high quality crane model from IMC Models. It looks great in the famous blue of Sarens, and the model engineering means there are plenty of different ways to display and configure the model. It's a great combination of high detail and functionality, and as a faithful replica of a classic crane, it is excellent.